Well, it happened. Another undefeated team goes down this wrestling season. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Ohio State versus Arizona State match recap, as well as give you the reason I think that this was such an important win for the Buckeyes. So let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and although I am sick this week, I just had to get out a video discussing with you the importance of this duel. I mean, what a great match last night. And on a Monday night, too, that's what really drove me to watch the match. It was such a crazy duel. Now, before I get into the video, I want to discuss one cool wrestling brand, and this brand is Funky Fresh Gear, an awesome new online marketplace to buy and sell wrestling gear. You can find shoes, singlets, fight shorts, and more from all of your favorite brands. It's really the eBay for wrestling. If you want to find out more, click the link in the description below. But as far as the topic for this video, discussing the Ohio State versus Arizona State match. Number 7 Ohio State just upset Arizona State. Of course, those numbers are coming from the NWCA official NCAA rankings. I know you'll see teams ranked high, low, other places, but number 7 Ohio State versus number 4 Arizona State. It was another upset on the year. Now, we do know that Ohio State already has a loss on the year, while Arizona State is undefeated, which just makes the wrestling world even more crazy this year during this Olympic redshirt year, which is partially the reason I think that these matches are so wild. Now, first let's discuss the recap of the match. So, as far as the box scores, these are the box scores walking through the match. Now, unfortunately, I did miss the first match because I was actually getting back from the gym, but I was able to watch the next, starting from 133 onwards, which arguably was some of the most exciting matches. So Courtney defeated Heilsman, giving Arizona State that early lead. But coming up next at 133, we saw Decatur wrestle already in the F&M Open over the last weekend and win that. But now he's officially out of his redshirt year, and he is a true freshman to beat the number 15 ranked wrestler in the country in Josh Kramer. Big win for Decatur in that home crowd. At 141, Pletcher. This was a marquee match for the duel. Not necessarily because it was a tough match, but because Pletcher scored bonus. And I've already mentioned on this show before, on this channel before, that Pletcher's not always been known for scoring points, but this season, he's been on fire. He has just been going for those tacks and getting his team the points that it needs. Now, moving on to 149, which is a little bit opposite of a story, and freshman Sammy Sasso. Now, he did defeat Josh Maruco. However, unfortunately, he almost had the major. And what was kind of wild about this is, Sasso was getting some early takedowns. He was getting takedowns on Maruca. He really was in control of that match, but with 15 seconds left, Sasso got that takedown, was on Maruca's leg, and actually down on the ankle. The ref started this count for stalling, just started counting off 1, 2, 3, and instead of holding on where Sasso would have got the major with his riding time point, he let go of the ankle and ended up getting a decision instead of a major decision. That was I heard the announcers discuss this as a freshman mistake, and yes, it was a little bit of a freshman mistake, and thank goodness it did not come down to that point. Now, at 157, Teamer showed his dominance again against Cleary at 57. At 65, exciting match, Shields versus Smith. Now, Shields isn't necessarily somebody who always goes for bonus points, although they did kind of need that in this duel. Just wasn't there, didn't quite happen. And at 74, this was I don't want to say it was a big upset. It was the number 9 versus number 8 in Romero versus Valencia. Anthony Valencia, of course, the younger, or I believe he's actually the older of the Valencias, but Zahid's brother, I should say. And it was number 9 versus number 8. It was a 7-3 victory, and Romero just kept coming off him, scoring off of Valencia's mistakes time and time again, where Valencia would shoot in low on the leg, and Romero was just able to get behind him. In the third period, I thought that Valencia may have actually got a concussion whenever they kind of bumped heads, and there was a little bit of an injury time, but Romero ended up coming out with that, and that was big for Ohio State, a big victory. And at 84, another interesting match. So I don't want to say this match was close because it really wasn't. Zahid was in control, coming out right away, taking down Hoffman and just taking righteous back with the cradle. Now, Hoffman was fighting the entire time, and I'll be honest, I thought that Hoffman was pinned. I thought he was pinned within 15 seconds of the match. However, the refs didn't see it that way. They didn't call it, even though I kind of felt like the ref wasn't looking at the shoulder blades. Felt like he was at a bad angle, but that's just my discretion. But he didn't get the tech, he didn't get the pin, and Hoffman was able to hold on. Yes, he was stalling at the end of the match. However, that's what he had to do in a match like this, and those are two big points saved by Hoffman. At 97, a great match. One of the best matchups of the night, in my opinion, was Moore versus Norfleet, and Norfleet, he came out here, blast doubled straight through Moore, and doubled through him multiple times. Especially in the first period, he was kind of on top of Moore, beating him pretty good. However, it was a back and forth match, back and forth. You kind of saw 4-4, 5-5, up to 8-8, and it kind of went back and forth. Now, I think from the second period on, Moore had a little bit more control of that match than Norfleet. Maybe Norfleet was a little bit gassed. However, I think Norfleet's going to make some noise come later in the season, and he already is. Now, but Moore ultimately did come out with the victory, and at 285, Hall beat Traub. Traub filling in for Singletary because Singletary is out. He got hurt at the Cliff Keen, Las Vegas. However, Hall didn't really do much. Traub was attacking him at the end, and Hall needed the major decision because it was 17-13 Ohio State. Ohio State, but unfortunately, Hall didn't do much, and they needed that major. Didn't come out with it. Ultimately, Ohio State won the match 17-13. So it was a great match. I thought it was very exciting. But what are the importances of this match? Why do I think that this match was so important? Well, first of all, I mean, it was a big upset, which was. It's always exciting to see an upset in the season, and as I'm sure you can attest. And please let me know. One thing I want to know. What was your favorite match of this duel? Did you watch? What was your favorite match? One of the first importances is that Ohio State is a top force. Now, as I already mentioned, they do have an early season loss to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is also a top 5 team, and that's just how they are. We'll see how they do over the upcoming weeks, but Virginia Tech is a top 5 team. Ohio State is now going to have their 4-1 on the year, beating Arizona State, who already in the season beat the number 1 ranked team, and beating Penn State's long streak of wins. Now Ohio State is a top force. They have been for many years, but now they show that they have a couple other guys kind of in their backups, and I'll get to that in just a second. But number 2. If you're a Penn State fan, sorry Ohio State fans, but if you are a Penn State fan, like myself, I do have this sweatshirt on. If you're a Penn State fan, they can still end up number 1 in the rankings. Now, the rankings really mean that much at the end of the day in dual meet rankings, all that? No, because there's no, national championship for dual meets. However, they could end up number 1 because if Ohio State keeps winning, and then they wrestle Penn State in February, if Penn State wins that match, they could end up number 1 because Penn State already wrestles Iowa at the end of January. If they beat Iowa and then beat Ohio State, they can end up back on top at number 1, depending on where the coaches and everybody rank them. But it's just possible that happens if Penn State wins out. So that's exciting news if you're a Penn State fan. It's just a lot of great Big Ten duels. But the number 3 biggest importance that I found from this is that I think people forget, I think wrestling fans forget that Big Ten schools and big schools, even including in Arizona State, they have big backups. People think that because, a Singletary's out, or, whoever's out, just because they're out doesn't mean that there aren't great backups. We see this time and time again where a backup comes in for a starter, and ends up having a great match. One of my favorite examples was, of course, Kassar and Shakur Rashid a few years back. But discussing Ohio State specifically, Decatur now is in this year for Quinn Kinner. at his weight. And then looking at Hoffman switching off with Rocky Jordan and also Zach Steiner, who kind of started out early on in the season. We see Ohio State making these shifts, which is very important in deciding who they want in the lineup for their even bigger duels than this. And then we also see Traub in for Singletary, who was hurt from Cliff Key in Las Vegas, but Traub put up a fight against Hall. It was on the attack in the third period and almost came out with that victory. Now, what's up next for Ohio State? Well, Ohio State next has Rutgers, Wisconsin, Illinois, and then they have some big duels with Iowa and Penn State. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, and if you're an Ohio State fan, it's even more exciting. So celebrate that victory.